Hello and welcome everyone. This is the Animation Fixation podcast show where we talk everything animation. Today's an interesting episode. Not the movie itself, far from it. Okay, we're looking at the Emoji Movie.
One day I might forgive you, Tim. Today's not that day, but one day.
One day I might end up forgiving myself for watching this. Okay, so for those that are lucky enough not to have seen this film, it's about emojis. One emoji in particular, Gene, the meh emoji. He's a multi-expression emoji, and he gets sentenced to be deleted after he messes up a message that his user Alex tries sending to his crush. Gene escapes these agent things that get sent out to destroy him, and he learns to accept his uniqueness.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, look.
That's what the plot is on paper. Sure.
On paper, yeah. The whole thing's a mess, really. But
yeah.
One thing that's really fascinating about this is it's got a well-earned score of 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. And
I think that might be generous, Tim.
It is generous, and yet, it made $217 million on a $50 million budget. Now, my question to you, Caitlin, is how would a film like this, that I haven't met a single person that's actually really enjoyed this film, how is it so financially successful? This is a film that won multiple Razzie Awards.
All 5 that it was nominated for. All 5.
And it's the first animated film to do that.
Yeah.
How do you think it became a financial success?
Well, there's 2 reasons, and it's about playing your markets and knowing your demographic. The demographic for this movie is the Chinese market. That's 100% it. They've jumped through every hoop here to make sure that nothing is going to be questionable and incur Chinese censorship. And when you look at the way that it's actually watched in China, like, I was genuinely baffled by the audience for this film. So I did a bit of research, and the way it's kind of watched in China online, their streaming services are a lot more interactive, actually. So you can kind of essentially live tweet along with the movie that you're watching with other people that are currently watching it live. And you can react to things, and it's a bit more of a communal experience, which I'm told is a much better way to watch this movie. And because everything in here, most of the apps on the phone are all Chinese apps, so there was a lot of brand recognition that made it actually quite a hit in China. So there was a bit of love from there. There was also I think it was in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, Saudi Arabia. There was a 35-year-long ban on movie theaters, which was lifted just before this movie came out, and this was the first movie publicly shown in the country. So
and then they ban movies all over again.
They should have. No.
They're like, big mistake.
But no, I would say that definitely, the hype around that, you can't beat that. So I would imagine that has actually contributed quite a lot to the financial success of this film. But I mean, if you look at the domestic earnings, it's only made $86 million domestically in this case being the US. But yeah, it's not actually that successful in the US. It's hit into other markets.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only answer that I have.
Still, this movie should not be making anywhere near its original budget. But one other thing that could also explain it was that there was also an embargo on film reviews for this particular film. So, I mean, they didn't allow reviews to come out until a couple of hours before the film was actually shown. So, I mean, that could have had some effect on it. But as soon as this movie came out, there were people complaining about it left, right, and center.
Yeah, I think it is responsible for both the fastest and the shortest critic reviews, which was just no. I wish that was a joke. It's not. It's just some genuine reviews.
Now, I think it's fair to our audience, especially those that haven't seen this film, that we actually explain why it's so bad.
Yeah, okay. There's a list. We might be here a while.
We'll try and keep it within our 30-minute run time, but here we go. So one thing that was interesting, like as soon as this movie came on, it already felt dated. And the production for this film only went for 2 years, which for a 3D animated film is lightning quick.
Yeah.
That's just not doing all the animation and everything like that. That's everything else. So it was very, very rushed. And the reason why it was rushed was because there were concerns that the film would be outdated due to the speed at which phone technology evolves.
Yes.
So they're making a film that they're afraid might be dated before it even comes out. Concern number one.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea of making a film is one that you want your audiences to enjoy and to keep coming back to have that timeless quality.
I think there was maybe the hope that even when it becomes outdated, that eventually it's going to circle around to have a nostalgia quality, but there's not enough in the story or the performances to make this anyway heartfelt and want you to come back and watch it, want you to generate that nostalgia. It's not going to work. And
no,
they definitely haven't helped themselves. There's a lot of instances in this film where they could have done something kind of a little bit more generic, but like they've included real YouTube videos. That was strange. I can't even remember what the name of that video is. I've seen it many years ago now, and I went, oh yeah, that thing, that existed. That was a thing that happened. But like if you showed it to, kids now, they've got no idea what that weird dancing man is. Like,
no,
it's just not gonna
that's
read
right.
the same.
And another thing, that there's nothing original about this. The script is terrible. The humor, I didn't laugh once. I almost laughed in this scene where they kind of insinuated that they blew Gene up when playing Candy Crush. I was like, oh yeah, that could be a funny idea, but it was kind of a fake out. I think I could have laughed because there's one character, the high five emoji, if they actually made reference to Borat when he goes have. I think that could have gotten a chuckle out of me, but nothing in this movie was funny the least.
No, it didn't hit on the humor.
No.
I think part of the problem with this film is that the main character is supposed to be the meh, like the just completely unenthused about everything sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yes, he has other emotions and other expressions, but the parents' journey to find him is so uninteresting. When your own characters, and like the performances reflect this, like the performances are really in character for someone that doesn't care, but you're making your, like, three of your main characters' main goal be to not care. It's really hard to then kind of go, well, if they don't care, I should. Like, it doesn't quite work there.
No, it doesn't. And you're absolutely right. When watching this and I learned that the characters were the meh emojis, I was just thinking that's such a strange...
It's a weird choice.
It's such a weird choice, because why should anyone care about a character that isn't supposed to care about anything?
Yeah.
Intentionally. Like you might refer to characters like Daria, for example. But the thing is, she does care. She's very opinionated about things. But a meh emoji, it's not supposed to care about anything. So why should we care about a character that isn't supposed to care about anything?
Yeah. It also, I think, it takes a very cynical view on the younger generations, and I think more than anything, that's what's going to date this film is you can tell it's made by people of a much older generation looking down on the youngins, and it feels very lectury and not very, like, you're insulting the audience you're actually trying to aim it at, which is never a good plan. Like, if you want people to enjoy film, maybe don't insult them. Just tip.
Well, there were instances where they were using the slang that you often hear kids use today, and it just reminded me of the 90s when that you had these characters talking, oh, radical dude. It's like, oh, we're going back there again.
Firstly, I need to point out how old we sound saying the kids. I still call things groovy. I don't know how much I can really judge that, but yeah, like it's not gonna age well. You're right.
Oh no, it was dated before the film ended. Mm-hmm. It felt dated straight off the bat. And the fact that they were trying to rush this out so then it wouldn't be dated.
I know. One thing that they did try to do, which I feel like they were trying to make it feel like hip and with the times, was Jailbreak, who is the princess emoji that has now turned into a hacker. Mm-hmm. Every line of dialogue from her, I would like to burn with fire. It's awful. Like that, the whole storyline, you have all of these very popcorn feminism lines that she's throwing out, which are very, like, you can even hear in the performance that they're a little bit heavy-handed, like they're meant to draw attention to themselves, be like, oh, look at how progressive we are. Drawing attention to the sexist history of emojis. But, like, at the end of the film, so High Five and Jean throughout are like, oh, you're a princess, so, like, you must whistle and birds, and, like, all these stereotypes, which Jailbreak fights back against every time. And then they're true at the end. She, like, leans into it and does it at the end, which completely undermines everything. Also, the fact that Jean embraces and becomes his meh from the rejection of okay, I don't know who needs to hear this, but women are not responsible for the feelings of men. I'm sorry, like, what century is this? What are we teaching people? And the fact that she kind of caves and comes back with him rather than fulfilling her dream, I felt that was a complete undercut of her whole arc, if you can even call it an arc. I feel like that whole thing was written by a man who wanted to appear feminist but is actually a misogynist. I'm sorry, I don't like it. I feel insulted by it.
There's a lot of things to be insulted within this film. I mean, one thing that's really frustrating is that visually, it's not incompetent. No. I mean, the animation was done by Sony Animation, and a lot of the scenes visually were very well done. I thought they looked cool. Some of the designs, like for the main city, what is it, like Textopolis? Very original. That design was kind of plain, but a lot of the other environments and the visuals, they were great. And you could tell that the artists that worked on this really, really tried. Yeah. But unfortunately, they were just let down by awful writing, terrible characters, and everything like that. And I've said this for years. It doesn't matter how pretty you make a film. If you have a terrible story and terrible characters, nobody's going to care how good it looks.
Yeah. It's probably not helped by the fact that this is essentially, an 86-minute long ad?
Yes.
It's not a movie, it's advertising.
Very much so.
We have Candy Crush, we have Instagram, Facebook, there's YouTube. It's just throwing references and ads at you.
Yes.
And I don't think that's an effective storytelling tool. But you know what? It does rake in money. So I can understand why they would want to try and cram in as many brands as possible when they're taking money for it.
Yeah.
I completely disagree with the inclusion of WeChat, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. Even at the time this was released, it was known that this was being used as a tool for surveillance and censorship by the Chinese government, and portraying it in a positive light, I feel, is a very irresponsible choice. But hey, it brought in money and made it big in China, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's all the bigwigs care about, really, isn't it?
Someone there must care.
Not just showing our kids a good film, something that has a good message behind it. No, it's just whatever makes money at the end of the day.
It's a business.
We
do sometimes forget that, films, they are great pieces of art and they are entertainment, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and if it doesn't make money, it doesn't continue. So
exactly, if we want to keep watching good films, we do have to put up with the absolute rubbish like this.
Yeah, we have to speak with our wallets, unfortunately. So yeah, if there's good films, go and support them. And
Yes,
when there are bad
absolutely.
films, don't.
Don't. Yes. I've mentioned that the look of the film isn't terrible. It's not incompetent. No. Would you say that there was any other aspects of this film which is okay at the very least? Stretching.
Yeah, no, I'm not coming up with anything. No, look, visually it's good. It's it's competent. It's a more simplistic style because obviously emojis, and what they've done I think quite works. And you can see the difference between the emoji world and the human world really clearly, and everything in the human world. I mean, the color scheme of it, it could have had a bit more pop in some places, but that's more of an art direction note. But it was very well done by the animators, by the modelers, by everyone in the production did really well on making it look beautiful.
Absolutely.
The story is really what lets us down. The music is quite heavy-handed. It's very, let's just have a quick pop sing-along break, and it doesn't quite work.
No.
I think probably the only time during this film where I thought the music worked in any way that was positive was in the hacker app thing that they go into, the one disguised as the dictionary.
Oh, yes.
And there's We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister. I'm like, yes, I can get behind this. This feels like an appropriate song to kind of have in the background, and then all of the other songs that they feature just slap you in the face and are not background music. They are, hey, look, this is fun. And I'm like, it's not.
No.
It's not.
No. It is important to keep in mind that this film is not made for adults, very clearly. It is a kid's film, but I struggle to even see kids enjoying this. I mean, they might be engaged with the visuals and some of the reference, but it really is just pandering.
Yeah. I do have something slightly off topic that has been bothering me since I watched this film. So when they're in the loser lounge, firstly, also the inclusion of the loser lounge in the end credit scene completely undercuts the end of the film. I forgot about that for a second, but no, that is unforgivable. When they're trying to say like, look, we've all come together and we're all on equal footing now, and then you still have a loser lounge and you have Smiler there disfigured by the final battle. You're like, this feels really sick and wrong.
Yeah.
Particularly for a kid's film, but okay.
They kind of missed their own point.
Yeah. Someone didn't get the memo. But the first time when they're in the loser lounge and they're trying to work out how to sneak past the antivirus bots, and they end up hiding behind the Christmas tree and the cactus emoji. Are they dead? Because you see them on the couch in the loser lounge breathing. And then you see Gene and High Five holding them up and kind of running with them and then like dumping them, and they're not. And I'm like, and like they've got like the sunglasses on so you can't see their eyes. It feels really Weekend at Bernie's, and I'm really concerned that they have murdered two emojis and are hiding behind their bodies. I'm very confused and concerned.
They may have, to be honest, this is such a forgettable film that so much of it's really only the horrendous stuff really sticks in my mind. A lot of it is just so forgettable. Yeah. And you get the feeling that this film was inspired by other films such as Wreck-It Ralph, Inside Out, the Lego Movie, and they steal so much from them, especially Wreck-It Ralph. But they just did nothing right. Nothing that worked in those films works in here.
That being said, Tim, do you know what film this reminds me of the most, where I feel like it has ripped off the most from?
What?
Foodfight. Because it does feel like it is just one long ad. It has, you know, that whole inner world, which is really like half-heartedly explained and very like ham-fisted narration.
Mm-hmm.
It has the characters that you just kind of can't quite get into. It really reminds me of just an updated version of Foodfight.
That is actually a very good point.
That's probably
I mean,
also
the
why we
only
hate it.
difference was Food Fight took 10 years to make. This took 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
that's actually kind of scary. Why would they bring that thing back to life? Yeah, they were inspired by the wrong movie.
Yeah.
Or maybe they should have at least watched Food Fight and learned what not to do.
That would have been nice. I mean, I feel like the story that I've heard behind the concept of this film is there was an interview with the director, and he said that he was trying to find, you know, the toy of this generation. You know, he wanted to make like the next Toy Story sort of thing.
Yes, that's right. He
And-
was very heavily inspired by that.
And then someone sent him a text with an emoji in it, and he went, "That's it. That's the movie." I'm like, that's the lamest origin story I've ever heard for a film.
I guess it doesn't take much to inspire him then.
Yeah, no one let him outside. A flower might be too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Flower movie.
I'd at least watch it once.
Would you say that this is worth watching
No.
at all? Like once, like even to learn from it. Like as horrible as Food Fight is, I think that it's a useful learning tool of what not to do when making any sort of film, not even just an animated film. Do you feel that there's anything to learn from this?
I mean, probably yes. But when there are other examples, much better examples, like Food Fight, why would you? I think overall, this film isn't, like, it's not fantastic. It's meh. They have achieved that. They have achieved their meh, finally.
Yes, they absolutely have.
It just-
that is a very good point.
It just ends up being background noise. It was really hard to pay attention to it and care about anything that was happening.
was.
It was just, it was there and I technically participated.
Yeah, we all did, apparently, with how much it made. Now, I mentioned earlier on about review embargoes and how that might have actually helped bring people into the cinemas, boosting up how much money it made. Now, we heard about with the Rings of Power that Amazon had their own kind of embargo on reviews, or at least negative reviews. What's your opinion on studios actually using embargoes on reviews?
Well, I mean, it's a bit of a tricky one because obviously I understand the idea of if you've made something, you've poured a lot of money into it, you want to
Yes.
make your money back. You want people to come and see it. And if
Yes.
it's just a generically not great film, having review embargoes is probably quite useful. When your film
Yes.
is utterly terrible, I think let the bad reviews come out because there's no such thing as bad press. All press is good press. People are talking about it and there
That's
are
true.
people that will go and see it. They're like, it can't be as bad as the reviews, or go, oh, this is going to be terrible. Let's go and have a laugh. I think when you lean in and embrace the fact that something is not great, it's a lot more honest and people respect it a lot more, and people will go and see it with the right expectations. But when they don't know what to expect, they expect things to be good. And so they will walk in, and when it doesn't meet that expectation, they will be turned against it. If you kind of lean into this is not a great film, it's just a bit of you know, bubblegum nonsense, people might be more on board to get behind it. I feel like the whole marketing strategy though for this film was completely botched. They got in a little bit of controversy and strife over they released an image promoting the film, which was Smiler in a version of the Handmaid's Tale getup.
That's right,
Yeah,
yes.
which was not great taste.
No, not at all.
They also had, I think it was TJ Miller, they got to parachute into some red carpet event, which was just, everyone thought was weird. And they also had, there was one person, I can't remember who it was now, who had very sarcastically kind of been praising the film before it came out. They invited him to a red carpet premiere because they thought he was serious. No, like the whole marketing strategy for this film was just horribly handled.
And yet they still made their money back.
This is the benefit of being a globalized society, that, you know, if something doesn't do well somewhere, it might do well in other corners of the world.
That's true.
Yeah.
But we're pretty clear on this being a bad film.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that this film is so bad it's good?
No, it's just bad. It doesn't, nothing here circles back around for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's meh.
Do you think that because it's meh, like you have a decent look to the film, but horrible execution of everything else, that for a film to really be so bad it's good, everything has to be an utter failure?
I think so. I think so. I mean, not even maybe like a so bad it's good, but so bad that it's interesting to watch. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Foodfight is terrible, and it doesn't come back around to being good, and everything in that is terrible. So I think the so bad it's good, you have to have some nugget of good in there for something to come back around. There has to be something where you can kind of hold on to it and be like, I can kind of go for the ride. But I don't know. For me, I think that thing's character. I'm very big on character development. I'm very big on,
of course,
having someone that I can latch onto and go on a journey with. And when you don't give me that character, that's the easiest way for me to disengage with a film. I know there are other people that will prioritize the plot or will prioritize like tonal vibes of the film, but yeah, no, for me it's all about character, and this just doesn't have it.
No, none of the characters are interesting. It doesn't really feel like they've learned anything. There's no real arc. There's nothing with the characters.
And I don't even know what journey High Five is meant to be on. He's just there.
Yes, it really feels like he was just supposed to be the comedic relief, but there's no real essence to his character. He's really forgettable for a comedic relief. It just felt like they put him in there and told the writers or actor or whatever, okay, he's a funny one, go.
Yeah, he doesn't learn anything throughout the
Croydon's not funny. I don't find James Croydon funny at all.
All right. I think it's just that he doesn't grow at all throughout the film. Like, his whole thing at the beginning is he wants to be popular again, and he just gets what he wants. I mean, yes, by saving the phone, but instead of his original plan of just hacking in and cheating it. But, like, he doesn't learn anything. Like, when they're all praising Gene at the end, he's the one screaming his own name, being like, yeah, me too, I'm involved, I'm part of this. He's always out to get the attention for himself, and he doesn't learn anything. Like, you'd think even, like, the time in the trash maybe would humble a man, but no, he just... It feels very... I don't know, tiring, I guess, when you have a character go on a journey and not learn anything from it. It just doesn't feel engaging. It doesn't feel right.
No, nothing about this film was engaging.
No.
It was boring. Just meh. This film is meh. If they had called the film meh, I could have gone along with it, because at least I know what I'd be in for.
It would have made sense, tonally. It would have been like, yeah, okay, this is what I signed up for, but... You know, when you have, I mean, firstly, you know, emojis themselves, the designs of everything, it's very bubbly, it's very poppy, it's colourful and bright, and then you have the tone of, I actually don't care. Like, oh, okay, sure.
And that's your lead character.
Yeah, and the fact that he wants to be like that. Yeah. Also, that whole journey of, you know, I am this way, but I need to go and change to be more like they want me to be. That always feels really dirty to me. Like, I know, like, it circles back around to, no, embrace yourself as you are. Great, but the whole undercurrent of, like, conversion, I find always really dirty to deal with. I I don't like that in a film. That's more of a personal preference for me, but
Yeah, look, I get it.
not a fan.
So, we're coming to the end now, and we got to rate this film. I'm pretty sure that I know what you're going to rate it. So, Caitlin, what would you rate this one as?
I'm gonna give it half a star, just for the quality of the actual look of the film, and that's everything else is I can't forgive, but it looks pretty.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I'm going to be a little bit more generous than you, Caitlin. I'm going to give it a whole star because I did feel, for the most part, visually, it was a competent film, and being a digital artist, I understand what it's like to pour your heart and soul into a project, and it's just not a good project.
Yeah.
But the visual work done on this was very competent.
Yes.
And a lot of it did look very nice, but it's not enough to save this film.
No.
So one star for me.
All right.
Well, thank you again for listening to us ramble on about another terrible film. If you enjoy listening to us talk about terrible films, you should definitely check out our review of Foodfight.
Foodfight. Yeah. I think that one's that takes the cake.
Oh yes, absolutely.
At least it's something to be excited about how terrible it is, isn't it?
That's true.
Yeah.
This one was just kind of like
I feel like our energy reflects the film here.
It does.
Yeah.
I think we need a coffee after this.
Oh, absolutely.
But thanks again, everyone. Be sure to listen to our other reviews. Like, subscribe, share us to your friends, and stick around for our next review. Catch you later.
Thanks, everyone.